Greetings, everybody. Chris Hislop from the Montana World Affairs Council. Welcome to another GeoQuest event. We are very fortunate to have a couple world-class experts from the U.S. Institute of Peace joining us today. Let me quickly begin by thanking some of our very generous sponsors who make this and so many other programs happen at the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, Allegiance, Trail West Bank, High Stakes Foundation, First Interstate Bank, and the Longview Foundation. Now I have the great pleasure to introduce our two guests. Molly Gallagher is a Middle East and North Africa specialist at the U.S. Institute of Peace, based in Tunis, Tunisia. Molly joined USIP in 2017 as a research assistant for the Middle East and North Africa. Prior to that, she graduated from the American University School of International Service in Washington, D.C., with a major in international relations and a minor in Arabic. Molly attended the University of Jordan in Amman, where she studied Arabic and conducted ethnographic research into the Syrian civil war and its effect on the refugee population in Jordan. She's from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Joining her is her colleague, Fatma Boukadida. She is a senior project assistant for the regional training program at U.S. Institute of Peace Tunis Hub. Prior to her current position, Fatma worked as a project manager with Yasmin Foundation, a local Tunisian think tank specialized in social, political, and human sciences. Fatma also worked between 2017 and 2018 as an intern with International IDEA on a project that aimed to facilitate municipal electoral awareness. Fatma holds a master's degree in electronics from the University of Souk. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Fatma? Thank you very much.
You
I'm
did.
sorry I sometimes trip on those words. I want to welcome both of you and thank you so much. You're halfway around the world from Montana. Thanks so much for coming. Our students here in Montana are interested to hear more about you, Middle East, North Africa, Tunisia. So I'd like to hand it over to you. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. We're really, really excited to be able to just share a little bit of, what is USIP and what is USIP in North Africa up to, and just a little bit about daily life in North Africa and Morocco. So first, I'll just share with your students what USIP even is. So USIP is the U.S. Institute of Peace. It was established by Congress and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan in 1984. It's a national, nonpartisan public institution dedicated to helping prevent, mitigate, and resolve violent conflict around the world. The Institute's the Institute represents the U.S. enduring commitment to peace. The idea of the Institute was first suggested actually by George Washington and finally established by a group of senators and representatives, some of whom had fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, who wanted to show the world that the U.S. is dedicated to peace, democracy, and prosperity. USIP's work is mandated by Congress and it's funded by U.S. taxpayers. So we're nonpartisan and we use this unique opportunity to bring together both sides of the aisle to address important issues on foreign policy and national security. Like other national security institutions, Congress determined that USIP's programs and activities are to be exclusively federally funded. So our headquarters office is in Washington, D.C. It's on the National Mall. And the Institute's campus is a hub for training, dialogue, roundtables, exhibitions, and research. So thousands of people from across the United States and around the globe come to USIP every year to work together to pursue peace, prosperity, and democracy. And in addition to the research and the convening that takes place in our DC office, the Institute has field offices in 16 countries. So our teams work on pressing national security issues, including strategic rivalry, violent extremism, global shocks like climate change and pandemics, and addresses these issues through embracing a distinctly American approach to peace building. So if you or your students are ever in Washington, D.C., please feel free to stop by USIP's beautiful headquarters office in Washington, D.C. It's quite a building. Fatma and I, are based in our Tunis office, which is the regional office for the whole Middle East and North Africa. So that is where we are tuning in from. And if your students have any questions or wanted to know any more about USIP, I would direct them to our website, which is usip.org. It's a great resource for research. We do a lot of publications that you can find on there. And we also host, in the post-COVID era, we host a lot of virtual events that are like just amazing with experts from around the world. So they would all be, welcome to join those events online. So that's a little bit about USIP. So now we'll just get into it, I guess, and kind of take everybody on a virtual trip through Morocco.
Yeah.
So starting off with just some basic facts and figures about Morocco. Morocco is a country in North Africa. Morocco is interesting in the sense that it's really a blend of the Middle East, because it has, ties in terms of religion to the Middle East. But then, geographically, it's on the continent of Africa. But it's actually closer to most European countries than most African countries, because it's so, it's like just a few miles across from Spain.
Yeah.
So this shows up in every part of Moroccan culture, this blend. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get into the food and the architecture and more of the culture. But staying on, the facts and figures for now. So Morocco is about twice as large as California. And in terms of the climate, it has everything. So Morocco has a huge coastline. And a fun fact about Morocco is that it's the only African country that has both the Mediterranean coast and the Atlantic coast. But then inland, it has desert, it has mountains, and it has very, very rich natural resources like phosphates, iron, zinc, fish, all of this. The population densities mostly takes place along the coasts, and there's about 37 million people living in Morocco. Ethnically, they're mostly Arabs and Berbers, and the main language that's spoken is Arabic. It's the native language, but then French is actually a second language because Morocco was formerly a French colony until 1956. And then just another fun fact about the language is that in Arabic, Morocco is called the Maghreb, and Maghreb means the West. And it's just funny because Morocco is the most Western, country in North Africa. So it actually gets its name from that. So those are, just facts and figures just to place us. Now we're going to tell you a little bit about daily life in Morocco and what you could expect if you were to travel there. So I'll hand it over to Fatma now, who will tell you a little bit about religion and transportation.
Yeah, so let's start with talking about the religion in Morocco. So most of the Moroccans are Muslims, 99% of the population are Muslims. And what you need to know about Muslims, few things. Basically, the first thing is that Muslims are required to pray 5 times a day. So we will hear the adhan, which is the call to pray from the mosque 5 times per day. This is something very common in all cities of Morocco. So you will hear that 5 times a day. And also the second thing that you need to know is Ramadan, which is the 9th month of the Muslim lunar calendar. And Muslims during that month, they will fast by refraining themselves from eating, drinking, and sexual interaction from dawn to sunset. And that means that most of the restaurants and most of the cafe will be closed during that month. And this year it will be by the end of March, early April, it will start Ramadan. So that's Ramadan. Also, another thing to know about Muslims is that There are two special dates of festivities, and they are known as Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So Eid al-Fitr marks the end of Ramadan, and Eid al-Adha follows the completion of the annual Hajj. So these are the two main celebrations for Muslims. And the last thing to know is that the majority of Moroccans, they don't consume alcohol, because drinking alcohol is considered forbidden, haram, in the Islam culture. But for sure, you can find a lot of wines and excellent quality of wines in the stores in Morocco. So this is about what you need to know most about the religion in Morocco. We can talk a little bit about the transportation as well, because this is something that for sure you'll use when you are in Morocco. So trains in Morocco are very reliable and affordable. They provide really great services. And also most cities, they have petit taxi, which mean small taxis. So you can use these small taxis to go around the city. And then they have grand taxi, which is bigger, and it cram more people in and go further distances between the cities. So this is like the taxis. And also something that you need to know is they have an application, Kareem. It's similar to the Uber application in the US, and it operates in the larger cities of Morocco, such as Rabat, Casablanca, and Marrakech. So yeah, this is basically the main info about the transportation. Over to you, Molly, to talk about the food and other things.
Okay, so another thing that you could expect if you were to spend time in Morocco, to visit Morocco, is that you will eat delicious food. Food in Morocco, it's very flavorful, and it's really, really important to the culture. Moroccan people, just like Tunisian people and everyone in North Africa, they really take pride in their specific recipes and their own dishes. So yeah, you'll definitely eat well in Morocco. What is Moroccan food all about? It's all about the blend of different spices. Generally, they use a blend of cumin, turmeric, saffron, paprika, salt, oregano, parsley, and even mint. So if you've ever heard of couscous or tagine, use a lot of fresh vegetables, really, really fresh and delicious. And then there's one special blend of Moroccan spices. It blends 27 different spices together, and it's called Ras al Hanout, what does this translate to in Arabic?
I don't know. The head of Hanout.
Head, yeah.
It's a weird word.
Yeah, it's kind of a mysterious thing. Yeah. Anyways, so the food is really important, and it's very delicious. Again, like I said in the beginning, you can find traces of different cultures in the food. So it's a blend of the Middle Eastern cuisine, Berber cuisine, Spanish, the south of Spanish, Andalusia. And this is also evident in Moroccan architecture. So if you've ever been to Morocco, or if you've ever even seen pictures of Morocco, the architecture is really stunning and it's really unique. It's influenced by a lot of different styles. Arabic fountains, big fountains, almost like geometric designs, Islamic calligraphy. You see it on all the buildings. And then the tiles is another thing that you'll see all around the country, really, and in North Africa in general. The use of the tiles inside homes is really special, but it comes from Persia. And then another, essential part of Moroccan architecture are the arches. So you'll see, arched doorways and arched hallways and everything, and gardens. And then in the more recently built architecture, it's influenced by the French because of the French control of Morocco in the 1900s. Another part of Moroccan culture is hospitality. So if you go to Morocco, you will definitely experience this. Hospitality is something that Moroccan people like really take pride in. And one way that they show the hospitality is through offering traditional Moroccan tea. So if you go to anybody's home, even if it's the first time that you ever met them, they'll definitely offer you Moroccan tea and you must drink it.
At any time of the day, like
yeah.
in the morning, in the middle of the day, at night, at any time they will offer you a cup of
Yeah,
tea.
yeah. And it's a cultural faux pas if you don't drink it. And it's served to you in a little teacup with a beautiful design. And every home has a different like set, but it's usually glass. It's small. So it's not like in the US where we drink like a big tea. It's pretty small, but it's made with fresh mint and sugar. Yeah, the hospitality is a huge part of the culture. Another part of the culture that I think is a little bit different from the US is the souk, which are the markets. So it's really famous in Morocco, and you can see this in pictures and travel like blogs and stuff. Are these like long magical markets that just go on and on and on, and the merchants bring all their goods and they sell everything in these outdoor markets so that you can find handmade carpets and rugs, handmade decorations, all kinds of leather goods, leather products like shoes, bags, belts, everything like that, beautiful fabrics and cloths and everything, and also the spices there too. And yeah, and fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. Just amazing, the markets. And they're open every day, except for maybe one day of the week. And this is really where people go to buy what they need for their household. I mean, for us, we know like, oh, you go to the big grocery stores and stuff, but in Morocco, and also this is true in Tunisia, really like someone from the family will just go that day and buy what they need for that day to make the meal for that day.
Yeah.
So this is a great, I think, part of the daily life in Morocco. And the last thing that that really stands out to us is cafe culture, which is something that I don't think we have as prevalent in the US, but it's so prevalent in North African culture and in Morocco too. Cafe culture is really where the cafe is like the square. It's the main place where friends gather at any time of day. Like Fatma said, morning, afternoon, night, your friends will invite you to a cafe. And it's not like, coffee shops in the US where you grab a coffee and you go. It's served to you in a glass mug. And you're supposed to sit down and enjoy the coffee, and you can stay there for hours and hours. And the cafes don't serve other things. It's just coffee or tea, maybe juice, but they don't have like, it's not like there's a menu or anything. The whole idea is to just meet with friends, and sometimes they'll have on TV if there's a soccer game or a football game, as they say here. People will gather there to watch, and the tables are outside in the street into the parking lot. Like it's so full. And and the coffees are really tiny compared to the US, where we drink a small is this big. Here it's really a tiny coffee. It's like 4 sips. But cafe culture is really, you will definitely find yourself in a cafe no matter what if you go to Morocco. So yeah, these are just kind of like the main things that you could expect if you were to spend a couple days in Morocco. This is what would really stand out to you. But if you have any questions, or you want us to elaborate on any of these or touch on something that we haven't covered yet, we're happy to do that to the best of our knowledge. And hope that was a little useful, and hope you guys learned something new.
Well, thank you so much. That was an incredible and wonderful panorama of so many things. I'm always amazed when guests are able to kind of pull that off like you did in very short order, giving us a better understanding of life and people and culture around the world. Now, I've got a question for you. It seems like maybe the theme that we're talking about is blending. You know, you talk about the blend of spice, but I was very interested to hear about the blend of cultures, African, Arabic, and European. And from the European side, you know, the United States was also colonized, as were North African states. I wonder if you might just touch on the legacy of colonization in North Africa, what that means for the culture, what that means, if anything, today.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, as I said, I mean, you can see it just in the language, for example. So Arabic is the native language of Morocco. But if you go, and it's the same in Tunisia, if you're going to do official business, it's in French. If you're
Yeah.
going to submit anything to, you know, do anything on a government paper or anything like that, it's in French. The
Yeah.
schools teach in French.
Yeah. And
So-
even in the daily life, like if you are communicating with someone in Morocco or in Tunisia, you will hear many words in French. And if you ask him about the word in Arabic, maybe he will not know about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think Fatma can speak a little more about that because she's from Tunisia and Tunisia was also colonized by the French. So
Yeah, you can see like the influence in the language, in the food as well. I don't know in Morocco specifically, but in Tunisia, the food is very influenced by the European culture. We have the croissanting, we have like
baguettes,
the pasta. All our food culture is influenced by the European culture. Yeah, so you can see the influence in the daily life, and yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's really like a lot of close ties to France, I think.
Yeah.
In Morocco and in Tunisia, which were both colonized by France, even like students, if they want to study at a university, most of the time they'll apply to study in France.
Yeah.
Doctors, a lot of doctors have they get like their degree in France and then they come back to Tunisia and they open a practice here.
Yeah.
So culturally, yeah, there's very strong ties to France.
And most of the families who decided to go out of the country, the first country that they will like decide to go is France. Yeah. Because it's so
Very
easy
interesting.
to.
A very interesting blend. Of course, we experience that in some part here in America with different, you know, cultures, different peoples as well. And on that one, I wonder if you might talk a little bit about the young people in Morocco and Tunisia. This program is mostly for middle school and high schoolers here. We've had the pleasure of talking with a lot of experts like yourselves and also students and kids around the world who surprisingly also use TikTok and also, you know, are you know, engaged in so many similar things. Could you share a little insight into kind of the day in the life of a student?
Yeah, I think Fatma can take that because you have little nieces and nephews.
Yeah, I think like now with the young people, the life in North Africa countries is not that much different from life in Europe or in the US, because now with the internet, like this, they have this the same interests like activities, and they follow the same films, they follow the same celebrities. So I think it's more common. But if we talk more specifically about young in North Africa, I would say that they have some religious activities, especially if they are like from conservative families. Most like many young people here, they go to learn Quran, which is like the how to say it, Quran in
The
holy book of the Islam. So this is like something maybe different. What else? But other than that, I think, yeah, young here, they are engaging in all activities like film, like I don't know, films, sports, like the youngsters in the whole world, I think.
The global youth culture, as it's called.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that. Another question for you. This is a kind of a two-way question, if I could. Could you talk a little bit about how events in the United States might affect North Africa and vice versa? Because we often feel like these places are so far away from us here in Montana that we have no effect on what goes on there, and we experience no effect from what happens around the world. But maybe you have a different perspective.
Yeah, I think you know, whenever something happens in the US, it's covered here the same way. And the buzz, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, but it's felt here the same way. And going back to your earlier question, it's especially felt by the younger generation because they're more connected. They got their finger like more on the pulse. So I'm really surprised. Like I've lived here for 5 years and it doesn't feel far away at all. I don't feel far from home.
Yeah, during Christmas you will find like Christmas tree, all things that you need to celebrate Christmas. Yeah, you can like also what's the other, sorry, not Christmas,
Easter?
before Christmas. Yeah, the Easter.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
And the Thanksgiving. Yeah, you will find people, like celebrating that. Not celebrating that, but you will find some.
They're embracing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think in general, there's just here, they're embracing American culture and American traditions, especially as I've been saying, the younger generation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the World Cup is an example. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Tell us, how did that play out in not just Morocco, but North Africa?
Oh, it was so crazy.
Oh,
You couldn't go outside. It was like a parade outside. When Tunisia beat France, that was crazy. There was like, I mean, it's like when the Red Sox won the World Series and I don't know, like there was just a parade and it was just insanity. So it was like that.
Yeah, the funny thing that the Arab people, they were like encouraging all the Arab countries. The Tunisians are encouraging Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. So they were encouraging all the teams, the Arab teams, not only their countries. Yeah. And I remember the day when Morocco, like she was in the first, like the last play, like all Tunisians were watching, and they celebrated. So it's very connected.
There's like a sense of unity among the North African countries, of like Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. These North African countries, I don't know, there's some kind of brotherhood there where when Morocco was playing, I remember everybody in Tunisia was saying like, we're all Morocco.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Yeah, nothing brings that out quite like sport. And it was a wonderful story and a wonderful experience at the World Cup and a wonderful experience with you too. Thank you so much for joining us today. And this, of course, will be viewed all around Montana and around the world for people who are interested in learning a little bit more about Morocco, Tunisia, and North Africa. So let me just quickly thank our friends and partners at the U.S. Institute of Peace. Fatma and Molly, thank you very much. And a quick thank you to our very generous sponsors who help us make this program happen at the Qatar Foundation International, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, Allegiance Trail West Bank, High Stakes Foundation, First Interstate Bank, and the Longview Foundation. Fatma, Molly, once again, I thank you very kindly for joining us.
Thank you so much
for the opportunity. Thank you. It was so nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Be well, and bye-bye.